Guys, I'm gonna be serious here for a second, but have we ever considered stopping and asking Emu nicely about what happened during the Void Century and what the hell is that laugh tail? Because I'm gonna be serious, I feel like there's a decent chance he would actually just tell us. Welcome back in, everybody, to One Piece chapter 1186. My name is Sai, and you know exactly what time it is. It is time to talk about this latest chapter. So, with that being said, you know how we like to do things here. We like to start from the very beginning. And this week, we have another reader request in the cover. This time around, I would say it's more in line with Elbaf, because this week we have Kid Loki drawing a picture of Ida, and it simply says mother underneath. Ida is in the background watching this all go down, and she's saying, hey guys, animals, don't tell him I'm watching. We do not want to embarrass him or spook him off. It's adorable, man. So, we now move on to the first page of the chapter, and we see that Brook, it looks like he's being hypnotized, but I'm assuming that's just to show that he is very, very, very confused. He's in shock. He's in awe. He's looking around the room. He sees the God Knight. He sees Demon Shuri. He sees this weird bird monster thing, Marcus Mars-Emu, but he does hone in on his dead big brother, King Leuven. He rushes over to him saying, hey, somebody bring a damn medic in here. Big brother, stick with us. And we get a snippet of 2 chapters ago where we saw King Leuven and Brook first meet, where Brook says, hey, old man, do you like my music? And King Leuven's like, yo, I'm not that old, dude. Come on, cut it out. Yes, Brook is going through the ringer, and as he's screaming for a medic, we see Emu is actually present in the room. And I'm not talking about through the eyes of Marcus Mars. No. Emu was literally just right beside him. And he's like part of the flames that's spawning in Marcus Mars. Very odd. Emu, of course, doesn't say anything. Classic here. You know, when Emu is in his blob form, he doesn't talk. When Emu is in his demon mode, he talks. So, because Brook is causing a ruckus in this room, Marcus Mars-Emu withdraw a little bit. Yeah, the demon bird and Emu, they start swaying away into the background, and I'm assuming it's because they just don't want to be seen. I mean, hell, they even look at Brook here, and they're like, man, this guy's showing up. What an inconvenience. This is crazy. What's funny about this, by the way, is that Marcus Mars and Emu, they don't leave the room. Like I said, they simply withdraw a little bit. Like the flames, they were at 10x when we first entered the chapter. And then by the end of this flashback, they're like 1x, right? Like they're still talking in the room. You still see the subtle flames on the ground. It's hilarious, man. So Brook turns over to Shuri because Shuri says, hey, Brook, quit it. He's already dead. Brook looks at Shuri, and he's still in shock and awe. He ignores Shuri, and he puts all of his attention on the mysterious man in the corner, saying, hey, you over there, guy with the hat, what did you do to Shuri? She would never have done anything like this. You must be manipulating her. Shuri, who is Domi Reversied, cuts in and says, hey, Brook, did you know that bum on the ground, that loser, he is not my biological father? Did you know that I'm a celestial dragon, Brook? I wasted 16 years of my life over here. And Brook says, no. He is your father. You don't need any more proof than that. He loved you this entire time. And they have this whole big old debate going back and forth, which is a debate that we've seen constantly throughout One Piece, right? This is one of the main thematics of the story. It doesn't matter who you're related to by blood. What matters is who actually loves you. So during this conversation, we learned something pretty shocking. It turns out that the world government didn't ever really care about the 1,000 slaves. No. What they really cared about was Princess Shuri. But King Leuven, he did not want to hand her over, so he decided to go to war, which, of course, goes back to last chapter, and it explains why when Shuri said, hey, let me fight in the front lines, King Leuven said, hey, no. Like, if you get caught, the war is over. We assumed it was because he would bend the knee, but no, it's because Shuri is their main prize. which I've seen people debating. Is this a good move, a bad move? But here's the thing. There is no real right answer. You know, you either succeed as a dad and fail as a king, or succeed as a king and fail as a dad. There's no easy choice here. And plus, IMU definitely wants Shuri for a reason. Would you really want to give IMU exactly what he wants? There's a chance that he would simply use her powers for more evil in the future, so that right there muddies the waters even more. Also, while it's not explicitly said in this chapter, I think it's pretty safe to assume that King Leuven knew this entire time that Shuri wasn't actually his biological daughter. But regardless, he raised her as one anyways. And the reason we can assume that he knew the entire time is because one, I bet Candelle told him, and two, because of the heterchromia eyes. It is a dead giveaway. That right there is a Manmayer trait. So now, let's turn our attention over to Candelle. What happened there? I think it's safe to assume that she got assaulted by Manmayer Groh, but in reality, we have no idea what really went down. Is this a Ginny situation, or is this more of a Magnolia situation? And if you guys forget who Magnolia is, that's Shanks' mother. And believe it or not, but she was actually quite fond of Garling, up until when he stabbed her, of course. When Garling showed up, she was excited to show Garling his boys, his twins. And then when Garling mentioned that the island was going to be evaporated, she said, "Oh my God, what's happening? Garling, where are we going?" And then, of course, that's when he kills her. But up until that point, she did like Garling. She did believe in Garling to an extent. So again, while it's easy to just say that, oh, Candelle got Ginnied, there does exist a reality where there's more nuance to it, and maybe she was a willing participant. Again, we have no information on what happened while Groh was in Asperia 15, 16 years ago. And I do think we will get that POV eventually. I think we're going to get a lot more of what happened in Asperia when we free and talk to Shuri. But for now, this is all Oda is giving us. I mean, hell, we leave this flashback without even knowing what was up with the fog. We leave this flashback without seeing how or why they were Domio reversied and why they made Shuri kill King Leuven. Is it a thing because that's her fake dad and this is her real dad coming in? Or was there a deeper reasoning behind it? Were they perhaps interrogating him? And not just that, but IMU and Marcus Mars. What did they say to the man? Because you know there was a conversation there. You know, IMU, while he doesn't like talking to commoners, when it comes to kings, he doesn't mind yapping a little bit. So I do think there was something more to this room than what we got this chapter. Another big question that comes up is why now? Yes, IMU and Groh, they want Shuri. We'll talk about that here in a second. But why did they wait 15 years? That to me seems a little bit odd. Like, they come in right after Candelle dies. Does this mean that they never knew that Shuri existed until this year? Or did Candelle actually hold back the world government from their encroach upon Shuri? Like, oh, we want to get Shuri, but she's being guarded by Candelle. We have to wait till she kicks the bucket. Is that what happened? Or again, did they just not know? Speaking of not knowing, did you know that around 40% of regular viewers, people who watch multiple videos on this channel, aren't subscribed? What are you waiting for? Click that sub button, brother. It would help me out with my goal of hitting 100,000 subs, and it would help you out so that you can see more One Piece videos. Also, the like button would be greatly appreciated as well. Also, I just want to slip this in, but we literally left this flashback. We could get more later, but we left the flashback without seeing anything in regards to Don Marone. He truly is the boogeyman of Asperia Kingdom right now. So getting right back to it, Brook and Shuri are going back and forth about the downfall of Asperia Kingdom, and that is when we are formally introduced to Manmayer Groh. Groh. Interesting name. I'm curious to see how they're going to spell it later, but for now, it's Manmayer Groh. We see that he actually recognizes Brook, saying, hey, all those years ago, there was a brat with an afro who were among Candelle's servants. You might not remember me because you were not allowed near me at all. We then get a close glimpse at his eyes, and yes, it is indeed true. He does have heterchromia eyes, just like Gunko, which is very fascinating because the next thing we learn is that the reason why they're here, again, is for Gunko because of her special heterchromia eyes. He says, while they all have those eyes, her eyes are special, and not even he could awaken the eyes to the potential that Shuri might be able to one day. What does that mean? Is Oda actually finally introducing legitimate ocular powers into the story? It seems so. And here's the thing. Why stop with the heterchromia eyes? It does make me wonder if Emu's, double, triple ringed eyes and Mihawk's eyes and Caribou's eyes actually have a deeper meaning as well. Since he's tackling these eyes, I am looking at the other eyes a little bit more under the microscope, so to say. Also, quick tidbit, but when Groh is talking about the eyes, he says he wasn't able to awaken them himself, but this one might, ... when referring to Shuri. So that is why I think there might be powers associated with the eyes that we haven't seen manifested yet. It's not confirmed that that's the case, but I think the likelihood is there. It's either that, or this guy is simply a fraud that stole the eyes from someone else, kinda like Danzo from Naruto. Because again, while he said that he didn't awaken his eyes himself, we see that he obviously has the same eye design as Shuri. The colors may vary, but he does have the same eyes shot for shot. In a weird way, this kind of reminds me of Katarina Devon, and how Katarina Devon goes around hunting beautiful heads. This guy goes around hunting for special bipolar eyes instead. Same with Emu, because Emu is the one who actually wants them in the first place. So again, it really makes you wonder what these eyes can actually end up doing. Are they purely aesthetic, or are there perhaps hidden powers associated with them? So before Manmayer Groh can go on and tell us what the hell those eyes can do, Emu steps in and he says, "Groh, you're talking too much." Which is hilarious because later on in the chapter, Emu's talking a lot too. But yes, Groh says, "Hey, my bad, great one. I'll take my leave. It's all good. I'll stop right there." And it's like, damn, what are those eyes capable of? Apparently, Shuri hasn't awakened them as of yet in this flashback, and even current day, Shuri's eyes are still the same. So whatever awakening they're waiting for, it doesn't seem to have happened yet. And also, when it comes to comparing Manmayer Groh's eyes to Shuri's eyes, design-wise, they are completely identical. So what that tells me is that Groh and Shuri, they have different colored eyes, which, is backed up because Groh says that her eyes are actually quite rare and unique. So Shuri has blue and red eyes, so I'm assuming Groh has blue and green, or maybe blue and yellow, or something of the sort. We'll see. We'll see when we get official colorings for this guy, but who knows when that's going to be. And because we finally know that the Manmayers have these special heterchromia eyes, I think this does bring back the girl we saw at God Valley. She was the first Manmayer we were introduced to, and we never once saw her eyes. Oda, time and time again, kept on hiding her eyes. And one of the main assumptions was because it might be similar to Shuri. I think that's pretty much confirmed now. We go on with the chapter, and we see that Brook is still in shock. He's saying, "Hey, Shuri, you would never do this. I know you. I raised you. You're an angel. But right now, you look like a demon." Shuri then says, "Hey, stop crying. You're pathetic. I want to be around other strong people that can protect me. It's no longer your job." And then she goes in with Brook's iconic attack. I can't pronounce it, but I believe it is Gavant Bond on Avant. Yeah, I tried my best, y'all. So Shuri pierces Brook's skull all the way through, and then she leaves. Brook, as he's fading out of consciousness. He sings the cow and frog song. Personally, I probably would have picked a different song than that. But yes, he goes down, and the last thing he sees is Shuri leaving with her real dad. Tough stuff, man. And again, I do think that when we free Shuri, we're going to see what actually happened here. And the reason I believe that is because when you go back to when Shuri regains control, she has two main panels that we see. One of them is her and Brook holding hands and singing their song. And then another one is of her screaming out father. We have the hand holding scene 1-for-1 in this flashback, but we're still missing the father scene. So again, that does lead me to believe that when Shuri is freed, when she's thawed out of the ice, she's going to give us that perspective. We're going to see what the hell happened in this room before Brook showed up, before they got Domi reversied. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we also see what goes down in Marie's Raw. Because Shuri, while she's over there, she's going to meet the Knights of God. She's going to see what her family life is like. We're going to see why she covers her mouth with bandages. Is she wounded? Is it like a personality thing? And we're going to see her get eternal youth. And also, when we get her perspective, we might actually find out where the hell the fog in Hesperia came from. Is it actually natural? Or is that one of Manmayer Groh's ability? Or perhaps Marcus Mars? And then we can also learn about Candelle and what happened there. One thing that's really interesting is that you can tell in this chapter that Groh does not actually care about Shuri because of the way he talks about her. I believe the word he uses is brat. But then for Candelle, he simply calls her Candelle. And it's like, okay, something's going on there. It does seem like he has some respect for Candelle as opposed to Shuri. But again, we have no idea what the hell's going on here. And let me tell you guys, Oda really blue balled us with Marcus Mars. He showed Marcus Mars at the end of last week's chapter, and I was expecting some personality from him. And then literally Brook shows up and Marcus Mars and IMU, they're like, yo, peace out, man. So we cut over to Brook, and he is now awoken from his injuries. And we learn that Shuri stabbed Brook, get this, in the perfect spot. I was laughing my ass off, dude. This is one of the most anime things out there. And I'm cool with it. You know, when it comes to anime being anime or suspending disbelief, I am 1000% okay with that, dude. So when I heard this, like, oh, Brook, you got stabbed all the way through the head. But get this, it missed every major blood vessel. It missed your brain. You're fine, dude. I was laughing, man. I was cackling in my seat like, dude, ain't no way. So jokes aside, though, I do think this was intentional. I do think that maybe Shuri, or at least my heart, believes that Shuri held back. Like, even during the whole thing where she says, hey, stop crying, you're pathetic, I want to be protected by stronger people. In between those sentences, there were like ellipses, you know, there were long pauses. That leads me to believe that the real Shuri was inside of there somewhere fighting back. And maybe Domi Reversi Shuri was going for a pure kill shot, but maybe the real Shuri, again, headcanon, she kind of tilted the blade to avoid Brook's vitals. That's what I want to believe in. And we do know that when people are Domi Reversi'd, it's not like they're poof, gone into the nether. No, they're still inside of there. They're still witnessing what's happening. A great example would be God Valley. During God Valley, Rox seemingly killed his family, and then he was confronting Roger and Garp, and Rox said, hey guys, kill me, get rid of me, man, come on. And then Dory and Brogy are another great example. When they got Domi Reversi'd, they were talking shit about Yarul, saying, hey, like, this chieftain needs to go, he's too old, we need to be kings now. And then when they got Undomi Reversi'd, they said, man, how could we say that about Elder Yarul? So, Shuri is in there. Shuri is watching everything here happen, everything go down. And again, when we get that Shuri perspective, it's gonna be crazy. So we then see that Brook starts to remember what happened in that room. He realizes that King Leuven is actually dead, and then he breaks down crying. We cut back to present day Elbaf, and I'm happy. I was afraid that Oda was going to hit us with the recap. He did that after the Loki flashback, where when we came back to Elbaf, we had a whole chapter just kind of explaining what's currently happening. But Oda said, you know what? It's only been 4 chapters. We're going to not do that this time. So Brook says, hey guys, I knew nothing about devil fruits. I didn't suspect that she was possessed. I simply thought that I imagined everything there, which is fair. You know, he did suffer, again, a crazy head wound. So why not think that it's a hallucination? Why not believe that none of that actually went down the way he remembered it to have? So he says, guys, is it okay? Is it okay for me to believe that she's the victim here? And can we please save her? My heart, dude, I love it. I really do love this moment. I think this is going to sound like cap to a lot of people. This right here was one of my favorite parts of the chapter. I'm in it for the emotional beats, man. So, because Brook has now decided that he wants to save Shuri, all the Straw Hats say, Brook, are you stupid? They don't say that outright. But Jinbei says, hey, Brook, don't be a stranger. Why do you even have to ask? And Nami says, yo, can my lightning do it? Frankie says, what about my radical beam? Usopp says, I don't know about my explosions. And then we see Brook simply run off to Princess Shuri. And I am wondering, but will they be successful in saving her from the ice? Because last we saw, Loki said that only Ragnar could thaw someone out that has been frozen. We saw IMU shoot out a Maki bomb at the ice cube and nothing happened. Will the power of friendship actually save the day and break the ice? I do wonder. But then again, we don't have to break the ice like that. I mean, Loki is like, you know, right up there in the sky. I'm sure we could say, hey, Loki, can you let her go? And then he'd probably just undo it, right? We don't have to go extreme dip against the ice cube, guys, but I get it. We have to try. And plus, Loki is busy right now. He has his hands full with IMU. So, big questions, but once Shuri does get freed, what's going to happen? And I say that because as of right now, she still has at least a tier 2 mark of the abyss. She has regen. She can be possessed like King Harold. She can get Domi reversied. So if we free her, we might actually be freeing a temporary enemy. So how do we get rid of the mark of the abyss? And I've seen some misconceptions out there of people saying, oh, we just cut off her arm, or ooh, we just erased the mark. That's what Shanks did. And it's like, yes, but hear me out. Shanks had a tier 1 mark of the abyss. Shanks did not have regen yet. Shuri does. Kind of like King Harold. King Harold, what Loki did was that he smacked off his arm, and guess what? King Harold came back for a little bit, but and then the mark regenerated, and then we had to kill him. So when it comes to Shuri, it's not going to be anything as simple as cutting off her arm, in my opinion. So we will have to find some other solution, and I have seen some good ones. Personally, I really like the music route. Because of how important music seems to be in this final saga, I think it would just be really fitting if music freed her, if it liberated her. Hell, maybe even Luffy liberates her with Gear 5th. Kind of like how he jokingly took off his scar. Maybe he could do something like that, but for Princess Shuri. Or perhaps his white flames are liberation, and he burns the mark away. Another fun option I've seen people playing with is that maybe Chopper could do it. You know, Chopper could instantly one-tap Domi reversing people back to normal. So who's to say that Chopper can't also go to Shuri, slap her, and then boom, the mark of the abyss is gone. I do think Chopper is a really good option here as well. He's a sleeper hit. So, now that all that is out of the way, we go back to the IMU versus Loki battle. And Loki says, hey, what a cowardly move the WG is making right now. You guys are kidnapping kids? Seriously? And then IMU, again, somewhat unprovoked, says, oh, do you want to know why we're doing this? It's because it works. 800 years ago, we did this exact same thing. The giants fell because they wanted to protect their children. And history is going to repeat again. You giants cannot change your ways. 800 years is not enough time. Everyone here is going to fall once more. And then Loki, no joke, looks at IMU and says, what is this guy talking about? What is happening here? Loki was just trying to trash talk, and then IMU just spins it into actual canon lore. But before IMU can just go on and tell us more about the Void Century, here comes Luffy. Here comes Luffy to shut him up. Luffy says, hey, you are an enemy of Elbaf. You need to get out of here. And then he smacks him straight in the face with a hockeyed up punch, mirroring what he did with Saint Charlos back in Subodi. And what's pretty interesting about this scene right here is that IMU is massive, right? IMU, he's not the size of Loki, but he did size up. So to see that Luffy's fist is about the same size as his head, it's like, yo, this might be one of those mixture of base form plus gear third that we saw back at the beginning of Elbaf. Or at least that's what it seems like. It could just be a regular punch and the framing makes it look bigger, but that's besides the point. But yes, Luffy, Loki versus IMU has officially started. And will it continue? I think so. I do believe Oda is going to go with the Wano format when it comes to these fights, where he shows us a good amount of Luffy and Loki versus IMU next chapter, and then we start cutting away to other fights, right? We're going to get more of the Shuri stuff. We're going to get Zoro versus Somers, Sanji versus Killingham, Dory, Brogy, Yarul, and everybody versus Zaza. We're going to start trickling all of those in one by one, but I do think he will continue the Luffy portion for a little bit so that we can get some lore and we can kind of imagine how the fight's going to go down while we're occupied with everything else. All right, so going back to the line about how the giants 800 years ago lost the war because of kids, it kind of makes me wonder if that is why Shamrock initially started the game. Like, does Shamrock know about Elbaf's history? And he said, hey, let's do this one more time. Let's make history repeat itself. Or was this simply coincidence? Like, Shamrock knew nothing about the downfall of the giants oh so long ago, and this is all just a big accident. You know, it's prophetic in a way. I don't know. I would err more towards Shamrock just knowing outright, because we do know that Celestial Dragons have different educations from regular people. Like, Celestial Dragons know about Zaza, they know about Nika, they know about the gods of the One Piece world. So Shamrock knowing about Elbaf's downfall involving kids, it's not too far-fetched. Another thing that I found interesting as well is the Brook portion. You know, minus the gag of, oh, you know, Shuri missed every vital in his head, he survived it, yada yada. It does remind myself and a lot of people of Elder Yarul. Because Elder Yarul had a very similar attack done to him as Brook did. He got stabbed through the head. Hell, the sword is still through the head entirely. Is there a chance that we pull out the sword and Yarul would just be fine? Because again, it missed every single vital thing in his body. And when you think about it, you know, granted, some things can and cannot do this, but perhaps the wound itself already closed. So if you pull the sword out, maybe he won't even bleed out at all. You know, maybe it's one of those things where, like, yeah, like inside his head, it's been like that for so long that it's all completely healed. And now there's just like this weird skin hole there. But yeah, you guys, that is it for this week's chapter. Again, I thought it was really good. I am looking forward to next week's chapter. Hopefully we finally get hybrid form Loki. We've been looking forward to him for quite some time. And I do think if Oda is going to skip the Imu battle and go to other fights in the meanwhile, you got to end with the high. And there is no higher high than Luffy going Sun God Nika mode and Loki going hybrid form. I think that's the reason why Luffy in this chapter shows up in base form. He's in base form now because he's going to transform next chapter with Loki. It's like Goku going UI and Vegeta going Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. That is the vibe I'm getting right now. And another thing I do want to bring up, but Shuri's eye powers. Again, we don't know what they can or can't do or if they're even awakened right now. But perhaps the reason why Oda put so much emphasis on it is because it could send Imu away. I don't know. It's hard to draw like a baseline because we don't have ocular powers in One Piece yet. This is like our first real instance of it. So if you told me that, yeah, her eyes can just send demons back to hell. Her eyes can nullify devil fruits like Aizawa out of MHA. I think that'd be kind of sick. So yeah, I am looking forward to the eye powers. Again, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about all of this, all your theories. Do you think more eye powers will be introduced? Or no, do you think this is a one and done thing? Well, I guess another eye power we do have is the Three-Eye Tribe. But even then, we still haven't seen Pudding awaken. So it's like, okay, ocular powers there, unawakened. Ocular powers here, unawakened. When is Oda gonna rip off the veil, man? So, again, that is it for this week's chapter, guys. Let me know all your thoughts down below. In the next couple of days, we will be coming back with a comment read-through video. So if you want your comment read, make sure to drop it down there as per usual. Catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, y'all.